perspective right now, 24,177 is what Nifty is trading at as we speak. In fact, Bank Nifty also pretty much flat at around 12 noon. So a pretty flattish day of trade is what we've been seeing. If you see the advance decline ratio, you have 19 advances on Nifty versus 31 declines coming in there. And overall, from a stock-specific perspective, Adani Enterprises, the top gainer today, followed by Adani Ports. And this is on the back of the clarifications that have come in. BEL, NTPC and Trent are also seeing some smart moves. What's trading under pressure? You have a ONGC, which is down and about in trade, followed by a Titan, Ultratech Cement, Britannia, as well as a Cipla, which are trading under pressure. Let's quickly look at the sectors and see what's happening across because, you know, IT has been in focus in today's session as well. But overall, you have the PSE index, energy, media. These are the top gainers. Pharma trading under pressure. Real estate, FMCG down and about. IT pretty much on the borderline. So that's with regards to, you know, the large cap space. Overall benchmarks. Puneet, what are the broader markets looking like?
Yeah, let's bring up the, you know, the mid cap 150 as well as the small cap later on as well, because we can see that the mid cap 150 is in green today, just trading with about 27 points of gains. Also, the small cap also buzzing about 0.6%, doing very well, about 108 points. Let's look at the winners of the Nifty 500 as a whole. Let's see what are the big winners as well as the losers in trade today as well. We are, of course, seeing a lot of buying on the upside in the Adani Group of stocks. So we can see that Adani Energy, Total Gas, Power are all up in trade today. Just seeing some pressure in the auto component stock, ZF Commercial, Prestige Estate. Also there was a positive brokerage note, but that's not helped the stock at all currently. Godrej Properties as well, slightly under pressure. As the Nifty Realty as a whole is slightly under pressure. It has a very good run today as well, but slightly under pressure here in trade today. But most positivity has been seen in the Adani Group of stocks.
Absolutely. So positivity coming in terms of Adani stocks. But let's quickly look at the key themes for today. Firstly, a stellar recovery in Adani stocks. And that is what we will be diving in and getting you more details as to what's led to this recovery. On number 2, you have auto, which is in a fast lane, and this is on the back of the EV bandwagon. A lot of companies that have come up with launches. We will try getting you details on the same as well. And on number 3, it's interesting to see how auto win and a bonus pay has failed to enthuse the IT sector. So these are the key themes that we will be focusing on in today's session. But let's go on to the first one. Adani Group of companies up and about in trade. If you see in terms of the stock price performance as well, let's quickly pull up all the counters. Adani Energy hit upper circuit. The stock is now trading with gains of around 8 to 9% as we speak. Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports, all of them seeing a strong up move in today's day of trade. There are no charges of corruption or bribery against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Jain. That's the word coming in from Adani Green. But first, let's go across to Alex Matthew on what it means for the Adani Group of companies, to simplify it for the viewers. Alex, over to you.
All right, so there's been quite a lot of speculation. There's been quite a lot of allegations that are being thrown around. And here I'm not just talking about what was said in the Justice Department indictment that came through. I'm talking about everything that came after that. The media reports that are claiming that Gautam Adani himself, along with Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain, have been involved in bribery. Now, there was a clarification that was issued by Adani Green earlier today, in which there is a very clear statement of fact. In no situation under the indictment that was sent out by the DOJ has there been a naming of Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Jain in a violation related to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act or when it comes to obstruction of justice. Both of these aspects are criminal charges and would lead to quite significant repercussions. What they have been named in, and these are allegations I must point out, are civil charges, and those relate to alleged securities and wire fraud. Remember that there is a very significant, stark difference between a civil charge and a criminal charge. The criminal charge, in fact, is something that has very severe legal repercussions. Now, the understanding, of course, of that indictment has been flawed, as a result of which a lot of media channels or media outlets have gone ahead and cast aspersions on the group, and they've gone so far as to call it bribegate in certain cases, and that has been unfounded. There has been quite a big impact on the stocks, but investors today will probably be asking, was there much ado about nothing at all? Was there a mountain that was made of a molehill? Ultimately, legal experts have said that this is something that can be taken up over a period of time. The charges against Gautam Adani as well as Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain are lighter compared with what has been levied against the Azure Energy employees and the CDPQ charges that were leveled by the US Justice Department. There has been a reaction in the stock markets today, and that is for everybody to see.
Well, thanks for that, Alex. NDTV Profit has also been speaking with a whole host of experts on this particular subject. Top Supreme Court lawyers and market experts have been empathetic in their views as well on the US indictment against the Adanis, which is based on a very flimsy ground, as they've stated. Now, they have also stated that how in this particular time is a great time to buy the Adani Group of stocks. Take a look at what expert lawyers as well as market watchers had to say earlier today on the channel.
See, madam, generally the charges seem to be that Adani company called Adani Green, which is in the business of supplying solar power, was bribing officials, unnamed officials of certain unnamed power companies, purchasers in India, and the idea was to get lucrative contracts for supply of power. इसके लिए bribe दी गई, किसको दी, कहाँ दी, कितनी दी, ये कुछ नहीं है इसमें अभी। और क्योंकि इसमें अमेरिकन इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, अमेरिका की स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में इसका शेयर लिस्टेड है, इसलिए वहाँ की इन्वेस्टिगेशन ये दिखाती है, ये इनके खिलाफ चार्ज है।
Right. What do the charges specifically, say at this point? What are the charges against Adani's?
It is not specific at all. I told you, अगर मुझे आपको घूस देनी है और आप किसी कंपनी में हो तो मुझे आपका नाम तो देना पड़ेगा। तो ना तो आपका नाम है, ना उसमें पैसा इन्वॉल्व है, ना लिखा है कितना दिया और कौन सा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला, कुछ नहीं लिखा है, जनरल है। अब या तो जनरल है या उनके पास और इन्फॉर्मेशन है, वो बाद में दी जाएगी, वो मैं कह नहीं सकता। लेकिन इन कागजों में कोई घूस लेने का नाम, पता, अमाउंट कुछ नहीं है।
In which counts are the Adanis named and not named?
Counts 2, 3 and 4, the Adanis are named. Those counts relate to allegations of conspiracy in securities, namely shares which are listed in the US.
Right, and count 1 and 5, sir?
I told you 1 and 5. One is conspiracy to violate the Corruption Act, and count 5 is obstruction of justice.
Right, all right.
उन दोनों में नहीं।
Right.
The US indictment does not at all suggest that there was any bribery in India by the Adani Group or its directors. There's no allegation about that. The allegation is that bondholders, investors in the United States who subscribed to the bonds issued by Adani Green were misrepresented when in fact bribes were paid. Now, what they have suggested is not actually bribes were paid. So, if no bribes were paid, where is the question of anybody being induced on false representations to subscribe to these bonds? Because there is no offense alleged to have taken place in India. They say that there was a conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corruption Prevention Act there, FC. But there is no evidence even for that. What is the evidence which points to that inference?
So also the Congress is, at this point forming a JPC and wants to discuss about this in the Parliament with the winter session begun already as well. What is your understanding of that with the opposition going on about this indictment?
The indictment itself cannot constitute evidence for any further action in India, including a JPC. The indictment does not provide evidence of any offence committed by anybody in India. Right. If you come with that evidence, then on a consideration of the probative value of that evidence, action may be taken. But at the moment, there is no evidence.
It also means that the Adani Group members like Gautam Adani and his nephew are not involved in any foreign corrupt practices. And therefore, this is good news for the Adani Group. And obviously, even the other charges have to be still proved. They are simply allegations. And Adani Group has certainly said that they are not involved and they feel that these are wrongly applied to them. So I think the matter should now be more clear, because obviously you have to prove something in American courts. Everything has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And unless there are actual facts available, you can't prove these charges.
Securities fraud conspiracy, wire fraud conspiracy, and securities fraud. All three are allegations. So it is the impact of that is much, much lesser than the impact of FCPA. So from a legal perspective, the charges, these three charges have lesser impact than the charges of FCPA.
More important is the issue that, the news has been carrying imperfect information which is impacting shareholders in India. And there are severe losses faced by shareholders in India. So I think one should just go out and buy these stocks. And I think there will be a tearing bull market considering these stocks today.
That's an interesting take coming in from Vineet Bulinjkar as well. But let's welcome in Ashish Maheshwari, Director at Arihant Capital Markets, to give his view. Ashish, good afternoon and welcome to the show. Your view on the Adani Group of companies, taking into consideration everything that you've heard so far. And, we just had Vineet also, who came out and said that this is the best opportunity to buy.
Yes, in fact, I echo the voices of top lawyers who were giving opinion about this case. And if you see, in reality, indictment is what? This is just an accusation. This is not a punishment or this is not a decision. So this just you are making them accused. And now with today's clarification, I think a lot of clarity will also emerge, number one. And number two, if you see even Adani Group companies, all their businesses typically are backed by the solid assets. These are not the IT companies where we have seen earlier cases where there's no asset and just billing happening. There's all businesses are backed by solid fundamentals. And third thing is, as they are having global ambition, so certainly you find a lot of enemies outside in the corporate world who doesn't want to see India progressing or Indian companies having global footprint. So this outcome of that, I agree with Vineet and others that there's a good time to accumulate Adani Group stocks, because now once it is clear that this is just only indictment and it will take plenty of time to prove such cases. And again, if it happens again, it will be again Azure and CDPQ, not with Adani Enterprises or Adani Green as such. So I'm of the same view that it's a good time to enter into stocks because they have fallen really too much after this episode.
Right. Thank you, Ashish, for your views overall. But moving on, you have the auto pack that is in focus. That was the second theme that we were watching out for in terms of the new launches. It's a week of new launches in the sector as the companies are jumping on the EV bandwagon. Let's first look at M&M, who's actually gone ahead and launched XEV9e and BE6e. Now, the XEV9e starts at a price of near 22 lakh rupees, while the BE6e is priced at 18.9 lakh rupees. And with this, if you see in terms of brokerages as well, they have a pretty mixed view on M&M following the EV launches. What Nuvama is saying is they've maintained a buy for a target price of 3,700. What their view is that the new dedicated EV platform does score over peers with regards to where the features are concerned. Secondly, if you talk about the bookings as well, which are likely to open in Jan 25, deliveries will only start by the end of Feb 25. Their initial annual battery EV capacity is at 90,000 units, and M&M remains their top pick. In fact, MK has retained a reduce for a target price of 2,700, and what they are indicating is that the features are strong, pricing is competitive. The EV category continues to see slow offtake with low single-digit penetration levels. So probably that remains a key concern that everyone is watching out for. And they're expecting intensifying launches in the EV industry in the coming 6 to 12 months. Puneet, we're talking about 6 to 12 months, but in fact, this week itself has been absolutely intense with regards to M&M. You have Ola and you have Honda.
Yes, definitely. So as you rightly said, in the brokerages as well, it's been a very looked forward launch, especially in the EV space for M&M. Now, what's been one of the most positive things, according to me, has been both launches coming at the same time. They're expecting to start deliveries by January of 2025. So it's not, very far off from what the estimates are. And both brokerages also are estimating, as Novama mentioned, they are estimating that these launches will start effectively, the full year will be in FY26. So this incremental addition of roughly about 48,000 to 50,000 units in the next year is going to add to the current growth path that the company is already on. So it has roughly about 2 launches this year. They launched the 3XO in May, the Thar on 15th of August. Both of those have done the growth in this particular year. Next year, we were looking forward to more launches as well. So with a forward guidance on electric vehicles specifically for M&M, it's going to be a very strong pivot picture as well. Now, the more expensive launch, which is around 21 lakhs right now, there's no competition also in that segment. It's expected to come from someone like a Tata Harrier EV, which is expected by the end of this fiscal year. The other one's the Sierra EV as well. Both haven't come in the market yet, but Tata has mentioned that this will come in at that time. While on the other hand, the lower price launched at around 18 lakhs is another key positive as well, because that is going to compete with the Tata Curve, which has just come in. So it is giving buyers a choice here for much better alternatives as well. But it's also going to intensify the competition. I think that's where the negative bias from MK is coming in as well.
But a key aspect that you need to consider with regards to M&M is the kind of increase it's seen in terms of SUV sales go, right? And their new launches over there, that is going to be the major growth driver from an M&M perspective if you have to look at EVs. Yeah. But that's in the passenger vehicle space. How are you looking at the two-wheeler space, taking into consideration Ola? Very quickly, we have Haripriya also after that, waiting for Honda.
I think for Ola specifically, of course, news is that they have 4 new launches in this particular that they've launched yesterday, and also we had a positive pivot from the City Note as well. So one, they've launched the Ola the Gig as well as the Gig Plus as well. This will is expected. This is also priced very attractively at just roughly 39,999 and 49,000, almost 50,000 as well. So both these scooters are expected to address the gig worker specifically. What's also interesting is that if you see the S1 and which is on your screen, the S1Z as well as the S1Z Plus is also another variant. Now this is similar to the S1 model that they currently have, but this will have the portable battery option as well. They've also launched a portable battery as well in this particular time frame. Now the S1Z specifically, which has been launched, that's going to be aimed at urban commuters for shorter distances as well. That's going to be one of the main things to watch out for, while the S1Z Plus can also be used for light commercial use. So I think they've expanded the product profile very nicely and very intently in this particular time frame. Now from 39,900 almost, they're going almost till about 1 lakh to 1,20,000. So it's giving the value option to a lot of new buyers as well. And I think that's why we're seeing a very positive reaction on the stock. Just to mention, Citi's also initiated in coverage on the stock with the buy target price is 90. While the note is very positive, they have mentioned that vertical integration with lithium-ion battery cells is one of the key positives for the stock. And apart from that, they mentioned that they are valuing Ola Electric at 4 times EV to sales. That's higher than the traditional two-wheeler makers because they see attractive long-term prospects for the company going forward as well.
This is going to be interesting. In fact, you have Honda as well, which has gone out and announced the launch of the electric version of its best-selling scooter, the Activa. And they've actually named it Activa E. Let's bring in my colleague Haripriya with more details. Haripriya, we're looking at the visuals, looking pretty amazing. What are you picking up?
That's right. Honda has officially entered the EV race in India. It has launched 2 models. One is called Activa E and the other is called QC1. The Activa E model is the swappable battery model and the QC1 is the fixed battery model. The swappable battery model will be available in Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore, and the fixed battery model will be available across the country. They're also targeting to create a swapping charging stations. Within every 5 kilometers they want to have a swapping station. Booking for these vehicles will start from January 2025 and deliveries will follow in February. Honda has also It's also coming up with a couple other services with this, 3 free services for the first year and 3-year warranty, and it will also be launching the first concept store in Bangalore by the last quarter of this fiscal. There's also a care package, and there's also a software upgrade of Honda Road Sync app. That's all we have for now, and we'll have more when we speak to the management soon.
Well, thanks for that, Haripriya. Let me get in our guest Ashish also on this. Ashish, we did cover a lot of stocks. Just let us know what's your view on M&M as well as on Ola Electric. Ola Electric seeing a very strong reaction as well today in trade. What's your outlook on both of these stocks?
Yeah, as far as Mahindra & Mahindra is concerned, if you have seen their designs or the sketches which has come out, this next generation vehicles what they are making in their EV segment with you can compare whatever the features are there in Mercedes or BMWs you are getting in this price. So certainly demand is going to be there. One thing is clear that Mahindra & Mahindra, if you see even the balance sheet, the current fixed assets are 34,000 crore, and they are going to invest 25,000 crore in their EV in-glow line what they are setting up. So huge trust they are having in their EV offerings going forward. And in my view, both these vehicles at the price range they are priced, they will really give tough competition to Tata Motors because of the features and M&M platform. As far as Ola Electric is concerned, I think again there's a good entry strategy in the gig worker segment because if you see that vehicles like they are mostly for the deliveries for nearby, etc. So demand is going to be there because a lot of your Swiggy, Zomatos and Blinkit guys, they will shift to such vehicles because low entry barrier is there. So I think this is again a positive development as far as Ola Electric is concerned because entry barrier are just going away in this segment now.
Regards to where the auto space goes, but let's quickly look at IT as a sector as well. Firstly, you have Infosys that is in focus. They've rolled out a 90% variable pay for the second quarter of FY25. And in addition to that, the variable pay is based on the company's quarterly and individual employment performance. Stock is up 0.2%. Secondly, you have a Wipro that is in focus as well because they've backed a deal worth $100 million from Marelli. So that counter is an interesting one to watch out for as well, 0.2% higher. And lastly, you had LTI Mindtree, which did have their investor meet, on the back of which you have a Citi which has maintained a sell, and they have a target price of 5,710. So these are the three counters we are watching out for from the IT space. Ashish, a quick comment on what would the sector mean for you and what is your view on these three stocks?
Yeah, I think this particular sector is now again starting showing some strength because now as Trump is on board in US market, so IT industry will do well as such. And in my view, whatever the barriers will be created, it will be more towards the product side that they will put something in China or Mexico or Canada, but IT companies will continue to thrive. So as far as my personal view is there, we are bullish on IT pack, and in my view, stocks like Coforge, LTI, Mindtree, and Infosys, they will continue to do well.
Well, thanks for your view, Ashish, on all these IT stocks. We'll let you go on that front. Thank you so much for joining us today and look forward to our next chat. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Hot Money. Stay tuned. We have a very special discussion on the Adani Green's clarification coming up on the other side of the break.
Member of jury of NDTV was a totally different challenge altogether.
When you recognize contribution to society, these stories are inspiration.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators.
are no charges of corruption or bribery against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Adani. That's the word coming from Adani Green. Welcome to this special edition on Adani Green's clarification. I am Hiral Dadia and joining me is Tamanna Inamdar. Tamanna, what does this actually mean, that the clarification has come in? Smart moves on the stocks as well.
So, Hiral, let me just put it down very simply. This means that all of the reportage and all of the social media commentary, which was making this up to be a very large case personally aimed at the heads of these companies, seems to have been a mountain out of a molehill. Now, why do I say that? The statement today says that Adani directors are not charged under FCPA in this DOJ, that's Department of Justice, indictment. That means that there is no charge personally of corruption or bribery that has been levied in these allegations, mind you, by the Department of Justice against either Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Jain. The charges have been brought upon are against the employees of Azure International and a Canadian investment fund. So, which is why the entire magnitude of what was perceived as a problem now gets reduced massively. In fact, let me first go across to my colleague Alex Matthews, who's explaining what exactly the statement says today.
So there's been quite a lot of speculation, there's been quite a lot of allegations that are being thrown around, and here I'm not just talking about what was said in the Justice Department indictment that came through. I'm talking about everything that came after that. The media reports that are claiming that Gautam Adani himself, along with Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain, have been involved in bribery. Now, there was a clarification that was issued by Adani Green earlier today in which there is a very clear statement of fact. In no situation under the indictment that was sent out by the DOJ has there been a naming of Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Jain in a violation related to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act or when it comes to obstruction of justice. Both of these aspects are criminal charges and would lead to quite significant repercussions. What they have been named in, and these are allegations I must point out, are civil charges, and those relate to alleged securities and wire fraud. Remember that there is a very significant, stark difference between a civil charge and a criminal charge. The criminal charge, in fact, is something that has very severe legal repercussions. Now, the understanding, of course, of that indictment has been flawed, as a result of which a lot of media channels or media outlets have gone ahead and cast aspersions on the group, and they've gone so far as to call it bribegate in certain cases, and that has been unfounded. There has been quite a big impact on the stocks, but investors today will probably be asking, was there much ado about nothing at all? Was there a mountain that was made of a molehill? Ultimately, legal experts have said that this is something that can be taken up over a period of time. The charges against Gautam Adani as well as Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain are lighter compared with what has been levied against the Azure Energy employees and the CDPQ charges that were leveled by the US Justice Department. There has been a reaction in the stock markets today, and that is for everybody to see.
Right. In fact, let's listen in to former AG and Senior Counsel Mukul Rohatgi and Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court Mahesh Jethmalani about the findings of the allegations against Adani Group in a USA court. Let's listen in.
See, madam, generally the charges seem to be that Adani company called Adani Green, which is in the business of supplying solar power, was bribing officials, unnamed officials of certain unnamed power companies, purchasers in India, and the idea was to get lucrative contracts for supply of power. इसके लिए bribe दी गई, किसको दी, कहाँ दी, कितनी दी, ये कुछ नहीं है इसमें अभी। और क्योंकि इसमें अमेरिकन इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, अमेरिका की स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में इसका शेयर लिस्टेड है, इसलिए वहाँ की इन्वेस्टिगेशन ये दिखाती है, ये इनके खिलाफ चार्ज है.
Right. What do the charges specifically, say at this point? What are the charges against Adani's?
It is not specific at all. I told you, अगर मुझे आपको घूस देनी है और आप किसी कंपनी में हो तो मुझे आपका नाम तो देना पड़ेगा. तो ना तो आपका नाम है, ना उसमें पैसा इन्वॉल्व है, ना लिखा है कितना दिया और कौन सा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला, कुछ नहीं लिखा है. जनरल है. अब या तो जनरल है या उनके पास और इन्फॉर्मेशन है, वो बाद में दी जाएगी, वो मैं कह नहीं सकता. लेकिन इन कागजों में कोई घूस लेने का नाम, पता, अमाउंट कुछ नहीं है.
In which counts are the Adanis named and not named?
Counts 2, 3 and 4, the Adanis are named. Those counts relate to allegations of conspiracy in securities, namely shares which are listed in the US.
Right, and count 1 and 5, sir?
1 and I told you 1 and 5. One is conspiracy to violate the Corruption Act, and count 5 is obstruction of justice.
Right.
उन दोनों में नहीं है.
Right.
The US indictment does not at all suggest that there was any bribery in India by the Adani Group or its directors. There's no allegation about that. The allegation is that investors in the United States who subscribed to the bonds issued by Adani Green were misrepresented when in fact bribes were paid. Now, what they have suggested is not actually bribes were paid. So, if no bribes were paid, where is the question of anybody being induced on false representations to subscribe to these bonds? Because there is no offense alleged to have taken place in India. They say that there was a conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corruption Prevention Act there, FC. But there is no evidence even for that. What is the evidence which points to that inference?
So also the Congress is, at this point forming a JPC and wants to discuss about this in the Parliament with the winter session begun already as well. What is your understanding of that with the opposition going on about this indictment?
The indictment itself cannot constitute evidence for any further action in India, including a JPC. The indictment does not provide evidence of any offence committed by anybody in India.
Right.
If you come with that evidence, then on a consideration of the probative value of that evidence, action may be taken. But at the moment, there is no evidence.
Okay, at the moment, there is no evidence, says Mahesh Jethmalani. Let's get a deeper perspective. Abizar Divanji, founder of Neostrat Advisors, joining us on the show. Shrikant Srinivas, former senior journalist and policy consultant. With us today, Ashwini Dubey, advocate Supreme Court, and Vineet Bolinjkar, head of research, Ventura Securities, who actually had the stock call this morning, also joining us. And I must say, if anyone listened to Vineet Bolinjkar this morning on NDTV Profit, he had the absolutely right call on the investment on Adani stocks. Having said that, let me start off the conversation with Abizar. Abizar, just put this into perspective. And let's put the stock reaction to one side, just seeing it legally and for what the story is now. Why has this statement made a difference?
One, clearly first of all, there is for the first time a very clear statement coming out from the company saying that our officials are not involved. And I think that was a very, very big and bold statement, presumably, backing off or kind of challenging the authorities, including our regulatory authorities would have written to him, to say that there is nobody involved from the company. So I think that positive statement in itself would give a lot of confidence to people at large that there is backing to it. The other important thing is that what's emerging out from all the legal expert opinions coming about is that there is so much of a loophole in statements that everywhere there seems to be some escape route that the US courts have seemed to have put in. To say that, I can get out of here, I can get out of there, by not naming specific officials in point count 1 and count 5, which are the two important counts. Every other count is basically a disclosure count, which can be easily supported if count 1 and count 5 are proven wrong. So at the end of the day, it now seems to appear that the initial euphoria created by a filing seems to have died down. One, because of the company coming out clearly. And secondly, people actually reading through the lines and saying, there are so many other things here. Now, the other important thing that the company's statements come out with is the implications. And I'd like to spend 2 minutes on this implication bit. The knee-jerk reaction, not only from the markets, but from counterparties, from other people doing business with them, etc. The implications are so large. So it's so easy for somebody to say, oh, I level a charge. But the implications of levying of that charge are supply of capital, our partnerships, our raising of finances in international markets. All of this has a contagion effect, which will take longer to go than simply a statement coming through. But the positivity is that, yes, with the statements coming through, we now believe that there is a path to recovery.
Implications, I think, is important. Path to recovery is an important point, but then we also have to understand the context of why this is happening. And let me come to Shrikant Srinivas on this, because frankly, we live in polarized times, Shrikant, and everyone will have a strong opinion one way or the other on this issue, and as with everything in the public domain right now. But forget about the opinion. Let's talk about the facts here and what really is coming through. Then the question becomes about why was this one narrative propped?
I don't know whether we can speak about why. I mean, I'm not going to speak to the motivations of this. The process typically works from Mr. Devanji and others are probably better acquainted with this. But the point is that a federal grand jury empaneled by a particular, based on a complaint by the SEC, which is a statutory authority, investigated and appeared to have found enough, a grand jury found that there was enough evidence to bring that indictment. That is why we are here. As speaking as a journalist, I don't think there is any grand conspiracy at play here, at least not against a specific. I don't see it overtly coming from anybody. I don't see the US government or Department of Justice being, focused on presenting or chasing down any particular defendant for any political purpose here. I don't see that.
Shrikant?
Yes.
Yes, go on.
No, I said there has been a lot of information about what has been happening. As you're all aware, as we are all aware, there has been a certain amount of media, a significant amount of media coverage, I must say, definitely in this country, in our country, about various reports provided by the Hindenburg and others. Based on that, there has been some action. Based on that, based on a complaint by the SEC, the Justice Department has pursued, and based on the grand jury indictment, the grand jury testimony, etc., and the grand jury found there's been enough. Now, let's be clear that the grand jury indictment is not evidence, as has been pointed out before. It is a set of allegations, and even the SEC in its statement clearly says that these are allegations and are allegations until proven. That right. It has said. Right. It basically says that the parties are treated as innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely, Shrikant. These are just allegations, and that is what is important in what has come out. Ashwini, let me come to you on this. Clearly, a couple of things that we have noted over here is that bribery and corruption is not involved. Obstruction of justice is not involved. So your serious indictments are not involved at all. For the benefit of the viewers, what is it that you're looking at in terms of the lesser critical charges now? How would this impact? What's the process to contest this in the US? And what are the kind of monetary penalties that would be involved according to you?
First, let us understand the jurisprudence of bribery. Jurisprudence of bribery is that there has to be specific allegations. A, giver. B, taker, the person who has to accept it. 3, for what favor? Here in this indictment, if you see, those 3 important ingredients are missing. Now 2, suppose if US prosecutors have filed a case, in that case, if there is any a specific averment with respect to the role played by Mr. Adani or his nephew or his Vinay Jain, that is completely missing. Now, three, if you see, in the indictment filed by the US prosecutors, the name for the work and for how much amount and when it was delivered, it is missing. So it is just an allegations. Prima facie does not substantiate it by any concrete evidence or any data. So if we see the allegations, then it is the courts are now coming to the courts procedure, how courts function. If allegations are labeled, then against that reply is to be filed. This is the universal law, and the principle of natural justice also says. So you cannot just pick allegations part, what the Indian media and world media has picked up, which in earlier also days, with the clearly agenda-driven exercise, either in Hindenburg or in the past, you have seen this selectively, they were exercising their discretion of freedom of speech and expression as given in the constitution in order to stop the economic growth of the country. You see, you must not forget that India is becoming the very, very fast growing economy of the country. So of course, those who does not want to see the India in the race, they will target from one to the other. In past also we have seen. Now those people who are targeting it, they must see that there is no allegation qua the bribery charges, the allegations does not substantiated by any evidence. So it's afterthought, and let's reply also has to be seen. Reply has clearly come, and no law is, the judgment is passed only on the basis of the allegations. And these are allegations only as of now. Nothing has come forward. So it's just, it is to be replied in legally. And I think those Indian houses or the agenda-driven people who are exercising it for their benefits at the behest of some foreign companies, they should also be taken to the task. Legal action should also be taken against them. Over to you.
What kind of legal action? I mean, you made an important point, Ashwini Dubey, and I'm going to come to Vineet on this at the end of the day because he called out the rally we'll see today. But whenever this happens and whatever the motivations are, you say, for example, that there could be malicious intent and there should be legal action. What kind of legal action would you take here?
Your question to you, me?
Yes,
Tamanna. See, these are the words, those who are knowingly, deliberately maligning the image of an Indian businessman by exercising their journalistic freedom, by glorifying the offense, which is not substantiated by any evidence. You can file a defamation case against them. You can take it to the task. You can file the allegations against them. Look, you have to see that there is no allegation against me. See, the ingredients of the bribery is missing. See, the jurisprudence, criminal jurisprudence, which says that the bribery, specific allegations, a specific project or a specific favor is to be taken, and giver and taker both, then these are missing. So it's an allegation. On the basis of allegation, you cannot ruin the image of any business house or anyone, individual also. This is a law.
Absolutely, this is the law. In fact, as Tamanna was saying, Vineet did call out this action in terms of where Adani Group of companies go. Vineet, we've already seen that rally that has come in today's session on the group companies. Where from here and what would you advise?
So, if you see purely on a short-term basis, it has been my observations over the past few years that whenever you have a sudden event which gets negated, like, this news flow that came in, prices tend to recover back the entire erosion that has happened or correct on the either side. So if we were to follow this same premise, I think the valuation collapse that we have seen from around 2800 levels could gradually creep up to those levels.
Vineet, you called it this morning when you said that we're seeing a rally, and we've seen a pullback in the stocks as well. What will be sort of the outlook from here? What are the factors that you would watch purely from an investment purpose on Adani stocks?
So number one, this is going to be an overhang on the stock, okay? Because although there has been some very sound counter points made by the guests on your show, it still remains that there is a case that is filed against the group. So there will be a little bit of overhang on the stock. Having said that, if you were to look at the fundamentals, most of these stocks are trading at 50% of their intrinsic value for the next 1.5 years, FY27. Now, given this kind of a value gap, especially in large cap stocks, Nifty 50, Nifty 200, you not get such opportunities, elsewhere. So given these facts, I think that, investments made in these stocks at current levels will probably, or, hopefully mean that investors will be very well rewarded in the short to medium term.
View from a short to medium term. Abhi sir, let me come to you with regards to these kind of proceedings with the SEC as well. What are the usual timelines and how soon do you think will they come to a conclusion on things like these?
I think the sooner they agree to a fine settlement, the sooner will be the settlement. That's what's happened in most cases as far as corporate related allegations are concerned in the US. So I guess, 6 months to a year is what they would take to settle it, because there will be some levels of hearing and then there will be a settlement fine. And those fines will, I think the corporate India or corporate anybody normally pays those fines in simply because they want to avoid, as Vineet just said, the overhang on their system. So normally what happens is, without admitting to guilt, these things are settled with a fine. And I think that's what will happen here in all likelihood, because business needs to move on. Unfortunately, in jurisdiction like this, I think we are faced with this issue. While globally it is like, innocent until proven guilty. Here it is guilty until proven even innocent. So the sooner you get yourself proven innocent, it's better for your business going forward. And that's what normally business people do.
So that's the legal route. But just one more point I wanted to understand from you, Abhisar, is that and if you look at the GQG note, the client note which spoke about this, they talk about the changes which will take place when the Trump administration comes in. This has also been a case brought in by the district attorney through the Department of Justice. Explain that puzzle to us, for those of our viewers who are not very well versed with how the American legal system at this level plays in or ties in with American politics.
Well, I'm not an expert on US judicial system, but from whatever I've read, I can tell you. One is that if there is an indictment, I do not think the president of any country has an overreaching power to remove the indictment suo motu. However, I think what can happen is the district attorney can be asked or to reach a judgment quicker, reach a settlement quicker. And I think that is what will happen, given that generally Trump is supposed to be a pro-business oriented individual, maybe less of vendetta politics. And that may happen and that may play out, that they would go for a settlement quicker and move on. That's what I think is likely to be the implication.
So, okay, perhaps the end game here is settlement. Today, I think some clarity has come into the nature of these allegations, which is the kind of impact you're seeing on the stock, etc. But thank you so much to all of you for joining us on this special show at this point on the big story of the day. That's all the time we have for now, but do stay tuned to the NDTV network for a lot more coming up on the other side.
Member of jury of NDTV was a totally different challenge altogether.
When you recognize contribution to society, these stories are inspiration for
could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential.
markets near days highs. Adani Ports and Adani Enterprises push Nifty to days high. Sensex about 80,300. A roaring comeback by Adani Group stocks. Adani Energy hits upper circuit. Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports are the top gainers in the Nifty. This follows the company clarifying that there are no corruption charges against Gautam and Sagar Adani by the US Department of Justice. NTPC Green Energy shares hit upper circuit after a muted debut. It's a battle of electric scooters as Honda and Ola Electric roll out new models. Honda's best seller, the Activa, is now available in electric too. Cyclone Fengal looms large over Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, and southern coast is on high alert for heavy to very heavy rainfall over the next 12 hours. Following global appeals for peace, Israel has implemented a ceasefire with Hezbollah in Lebanon, but its military campaign against Hamas in Gaza is set to continue. Hello and welcome to NDTV Profit. You're watching Market IQ and I'm your host Mika Barve. Let's first take a quick look at how markets are faring right now. It's a very good day to be in the markets with the Nifty 50. The benchmark is up 0.5% in trade today. When you look at the top contributors on the benchmark, you have HDFC Bank, gaining with 20 points, and then we have Adani Ports, NTPC and Adani Enterprises, as well as Trent, that are leading in terms of contribution to the Nifty 50. When you look at the top gainers from a stock performance perspective, where we do have stocks like the Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports. Adani Enterprises is actually up 8% right now, while Adani Ports is seeing gains of over 5%. We also have some strength in counters like BEL, Trent, as well as NTPC that have all seen gains of over 2% right now. When you look at the broader markets, well, they are clearly outperforming. It's actually the Nifty Small Cap 250 that's outperforming. The Nifty Mid Cap still underperforms the benchmark right now. The Small Cap 250 is up 0.75% in trade right now. And when you talk about who is leading or taking charge in terms of stock performance, we have Quest Corp seeing gains of over 5%, EIL, as well as counters like Garden Reach Shipbuilders, Aster DM, and PCBL seeing gains of over 5%. When you look at the sectoral indices, you have the Nifty Energy, which is the top gainer in today's day of trade. It's up over 1.3% right now. We have Adani Energy Solutions, Adani Green, taking the charge, seeing gains of 8 to 10%, as well as some strength in NTPC and Coal India. NTPC is buzzing with, as its renewable energy arm just debuted in exchanges today. We also have some strength on the Nifty Auto as well as the media pack. A sector that's not doing so well today is the Nifty Pharma, seeing cuts of 0.5% in trade today. The stocks that are, leading the positive bias is Granules India, seeing cuts of 3%. Ipca Laboratories also down 2.5%. And we have 17 declines on the Nifty Pharma as against 4 advances. When you talk about another counter that's not doing so well is the Nifty Realty. It's down about 0.4% in trade right now. When you talk about counters that are not doing so well in this index, it's Prestige Estates down about 4%, Godrej Properties, as well as Suntech Realty, and these are some of the counters that saw significant gains post the Maharashtra elections. But up first, we should address the defense stocks. Now we have a host of defense counters that are buzzing on the back of positive sentiment. We have Bharat Dynamics seeing an intraday high of 7.9%. We also have counters like Garden Reach Shipbuilders, intraday high of the same magnitude. Cochin Shipyards, intraday high of 5%, and Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders as well as BEL seeing gains of 2 to 4% in trade right now. Now, there's been a positive traction in this space for the last 2-3 days. We had JP Morgan actually post a note on November 25th and it stated that the sector still is in very early stages of a long runway growth. They expect the 3-year order inflows to be at 150% of the order backlog that was as of FY24, and the sector level revenue is expected to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 12 to 15% over the next few years. And JP Morgan also stated that the recent pullback of the stock corrections that we did see in the defense counters for the last few weeks serve as an attractive entry point in the larger players. When you talk about their defense bets, well, they're overweight. They initiate an overweight rating coverage on 3 counters: BEL, HAL, Mazagon Dock. Now, Mazagon Dock has crossed the target price that was stated by the brokerage, but BEL's target price stands at 340 rupees, which provides an upside potential of 10%. For the HAL target, an upside potential of 15.4%. But its preferred defense pick is BEL, and there are 3 main factors to this. One is the diversified revenue as well as the order inflow stream. JP Morgan has also highlighted the long track record of the listed company and the consistent guidance and delivery that the company has given versus other peers. But moving on, another counter that has been in focus today is Aster DM Healthcare. Now, it's been buzzing on the back of news flow, and we have Varsha joining us to give us more details on the same.
For that, so yes, Aster DM Healthcare is buzzing now. Company is going to acquire additional equity shares in Prerna Hospital, so they're going to increase their stake to 100% up from 87% currently. Transaction will be executed in 2 tranches. Now, so a lot of hospital companies are actually going into brownfield expansion versus greenfield expansions, which takes time, and Aster DM is one of them. If you see about the Prerna Hospital, so they offer 254 beds and are into over 25 specialities, and the turnover, that is sales of Prerna Hospital for FY24, stands at around 120 crores. Now let's see what is Aster expecting when it comes to future. So Aster Women and Children Hospital, which comprises of 300 beds in Hyderabad, is yet to be completed by FY26, and total capacity is expected to reach 6,800 beds by FY27. And India revenue CAGR, so they are expecting 18 to 20% growth when it comes to India business over FY25 to 29, and EBITDA margin over the same period is expected at 23 to 25%. And growth, they're expecting this growth to be driven by higher occupancy and the capacity expansion that the company is going through. And lastly, if you see, the average revenue per occupied bed is projected to grow at 7 to 8% over 3 to 4 years. So this is all we have on Aster DM Healthcare.
Thank you, Asha, so much for giving us all those details. The next counter we're going to talk about is Prestige Estates. It's the top loser on the Nifty Realty and is dragging the index quite a bit. It's down about almost 4.5% right now. We have Anushi. Anushi, the stock rode for the last 2-3 days after the Maharashtra state elections. But what's causing the pressure today?
Right, Mika, if you look at Prestige Estates now, while there was a sentimental move which led to this kind of an up move that we are looking at, in the whole real estate index, Prestige Estates is down by about 4%, and this is on the back of the Morgan Stanley note which has come out today, wherein they've downgraded the stock to underweight as compared to overweight. So it's a double downgrade that we are looking at from the brokerage, with a target price of 1,510, which implies about 11.4% of a downside. If we go back and look at how the H1 had shaped up for Prestige Estates, launches compared to its other players were comparatively lower on the muted side. In Q1, they did attribute this to elections also and some delays happening on that front. But what Morgan Stanley is saying is they reduced their FY25 pre-sales growth estimate to 9% as compared to 27% of an estimate earlier. This is on the lack of launches seen so far in H1. On the rental income CAGR side, they estimate about a 24% of a growth. But it's mainly the weaker pre-sales momentum as compared to its peers. If you look at its peers like Godrej Properties and even other players in the market, they had posted comparatively stronger numbers. So this remains on a critical point for the company to focus on for H2 onwards, how the realizations will shape along with that. So pre-sales is the most important metric that one should be looking out for Prestige Estates from this level onwards.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anushi, for giving us all those details. The next 2 stocks that we're going to focus on is Waaree Energies and Premier Energies. Both stocks recently listed on exchanges and saw stellar listing, then saw some correction as people, booked profits and other factors came into play. But they are buzzing into trade today, up 2 to 3% right now. And this is on the back of the expectation for international solar module prices to rise. Now, China will be cutting their export tax rebate, which is a kind of subsidy that it gives its companies to be competitive in international markets. They're going to cut the tax rebate on solar modules and cells, and it will be reduced from 13% to 9%, and this will be effective from December 1st. Now, China is reducing these export rebates to curb the company losses that manufacturers are seeing, and this cut will lead to an increase in input cost to the extent of 4% as per Nuvama research. Now, these higher input prices are expected to lead to an uptick in solar module prices, and we also have experts stating that maturing technology and the impending US tariffs could also support higher module prices going forward. A little bit about the history about solar module prices so far. The international prices have seen a significant decline for the past 2 years, and this is mainly because of a Chinese supply glut. Now, current module prices stand 67% lower from the 2022 peak levels, currently trading at only 9 cents per watt, which stood at around 12 cents per watt at the start of the year and at around 27 cents per watt at the 2022 high levels. And now experts believe that the module prices have now bottomed out and could only see an uptick from here. Now, when you talk about how Indian companies like Warrior Energies and Premier Energies benefits, well, one thing is higher module prices are positive for both of these companies because they increase the revenue potential that the companies make when they enter into contracts, because both these companies are solar module manufacturers, and the reduced Chinese rebates also make the Indian panel prices or these companies more competitive from an export as well as a domestic standpoint. It could also lead to a higher demand for Indian companies in domestic markets, because despite us having the production capabilities, India still imports a large amount of solar panels because of the Chinese competitive prices. So this could help in higher demand from a domestic standpoint, and the potential US tariffs on Chinese imports could also be positive for Warrior Energies, especially in US markets, because the company earns around 50% of its revenues from the US. But we now move on to one of the big stories of the day, and there are no charges of corruption or bribery against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Jain. Now, that's the word coming from Adani Green. Let's go across to Alex Matthews on what it means for the Adani Group.
So there's been quite a lot of speculation, there's been quite a lot of allegations that are being thrown around, and here I'm not just talking about what was said in the Justice Department indictment that came through. I'm talking about everything that came after that. The media reports that are claiming that Gautam Adani himself, along with Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain, have been involved in bribery. Now, there was a clarification that was issued by Adani Green earlier today, in which there is a very clear statement of fact. In no situation under the indictment that was sent out by the DOJ has there been a naming of Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vineet Jain in a violation related to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act or when it comes to obstruction of justice. Both of these aspects are criminal charges and would lead to quite significant repercussions. What they have been named in, and these are allegations I must point out, are civil charges, and those relate to alleged securities and wire fraud. Remember that there is a very significant, stark difference between a civil charge and a criminal charge. The criminal charge, in fact, is something that has very severe legal repercussions. Now, the understanding, of course, of that indictment has been flawed, as a result of which a lot of media channels or media outlets have gone ahead and cast aspersions on the group, and they've gone so far as to call it bribegate in certain cases, and that has been unfounded. There has been quite a big impact on the stocks, but investors today will probably be asking, was there much ado about nothing at all? Was there a mountain that was made of a molehill? Ultimately, legal experts have said that this is something that can be taken up over a period of time. The charges against Gautam Adani as well as Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain are lighter compared with what has been levied against the Azure Energy employees and the CDPQ charges that were leveled by the US Justice Department. There has been a reaction in the stock markets today, and that is for everybody to see.
Thank you so much, Alex, for giving us all those key details. And NDTV Profit has also been speaking with a host of experts on this very subject. Top Supreme Court lawyers and market experts have been emphatic in their views that the US indictment against the Adanis is based on very flimsy grounds. Now, they have also stated that now is the time to buy the Adani Group stocks. Take a look at what expert lawyers and market watchers had to say earlier today on the channel.
See, madam, generally the charges seem to be that Adani company called Adani Green, which is in the business of supplying solar power, was bribing officials, unnamed officials, of certain unnamed power companies, purchasers in India, and the idea was to get lucrative contracts for supply of power. इसके लिए ब्राइब दी गई, किसको दी, कहाँ दी, कितनी दी, ये कुछ नहीं है इसमें अभी। और क्योंकि इसमें अमेरिकन इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, अमेरिका की स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में इसका शेयर लिस्टेड है, इसलिए वहाँ की इन्वेस्टिगेशन ये दिखाती है, ये इनके खिलाफ चार्ज है।
Right. What do the charges specifically, say at this point? What are the charges against Adani's?
It is not specific at all. I told you, अगर मुझे आपको घूस देनी है और आप किसी कंपनी में हो तो मुझे आपका नाम तो देना पड़ेगा। तो ना तो आपका नाम है, ना उसमें पैसा इन्वॉल्व है, ना लिखा है कितना दिया और कौन सा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला, कुछ नहीं लिखा है, जनरल है। अब या तो जनरल है या उनके पास और इन्फॉर्मेशन है, वो बाद में दी जाएगी, वो मैं कह नहीं सकता। लेकिन इन कागजों में कोई घूस लेने का नाम, पता, अमाउंट कुछ नहीं है।
In which counts are the Adanis named and not named?
Counts 2, 3 and 4, the Adanis are named. Those counts relate to allegations of conspiracy in securities, namely shares which are listed in the US.
Right, and count 1 and 5, sir?
I told you 1 and 5. One is conspiracy to violate the Corruption Act, and count 5 is obstruction of justice.
Right.
उन दोनों में नहीं है।
Right.
The US indictment does not at all suggest that there was any bribery in India by the Adani Group or its directors. There's no allegation about that. The allegation is that bondholders, investors in the United States who subscribed to the bonds issued by Adani Green were misrepresented when in fact bribes were paid. Now, what they have suggested is not actually bribes were paid. So, if no bribes were paid, where is the question of anybody being induced on false representations to subscribe to these bonds? Because there is no offense alleged to have taken place in India. They say that there was a conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corruption Prevention Act, there, FC. But there is no evidence even for that. What is the evidence which points to that inference?
So also the Congress is, at this point forming a JPC and wants to discuss about this in the Parliament with the winter session begun already as well. What is your understanding of that with the opposition going on about this indictment?
The indictment itself cannot constitute evidence for any further action in India, including a JPC. The indictment does not provide evidence of any offence committed by anybody in India.
Right.
If you come with that evidence, then on a consideration of the probative value of that evidence, action may be taken. But at the moment, there is no evidence.
It also means that the Adani Group members like Gautam Adani and his nephew are not involved in any foreign corrupt practices. And therefore, this is good news for the Adani Group. And obviously, even the other charges have to be still proved. They are simply allegations. And Adani Group has certainly said that they are not involved and they feel that these are wrongly applied to them. So I think the matter should now be more clear, because obviously you have to prove something in American courts. Everything has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And unless there are actual facts available, you can't prove these charges.
Securities fraud, conspiracy, wire fraud conspiracy, and securities fraud. All three are allegations. So it is the impact of that is much, much lesser than the impact of FCPA. So from a legal perspective, the charges, these three charges have lesser impact than the charges of FCPA.
We now move on to the auto space, where Honda today announced the launch of the electric version of its best-selling scooter, the Activa. Named as Activa E, let's bring in Haripriya with more details on the same.
That's right. Honda has officially entered the EV race in India. It has launched two models. One is called Activa E and the other is called QC1. The Activa E model is the swappable battery model and the QC1 is the fixed battery model. The swappable battery model will be available in Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore, and the fixed battery model will be available across the country. They're also targeting to create a swapping charging stations. Within every 5 kilometers they want to have a swapping station. Booking for these vehicles will start from January 2025 and deliveries will follow in February. Honda has also coming up with a couple other services with this, 3 free services for the first year and 3-year warranty, and it will also be launching the first concept store in Bangalore by the last quarter of this fiscal. There's also a care package and there's also a software upgrade of Honda Road Sync app.
Moving on, a deep depression over the southwest Bay of Bengal is expected to intensify into a cyclone by Wednesday, bringing heavy to extremely heavy rainfall to Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Andhra Pradesh. According to the India Meteorological Department, IMD, due to the alert, a holiday has been declared for schools as well as colleges in Tamil Nadu's Trichy, Ramanathapuram, Nagapattinam, Kudalur, Viluppuram and Thiruvallur districts due to the rain. And with that, that's all we have on the show for today. But do stay tuned to NDTV Profit. Lots more lined up on the other side.
Becoming a member of jury of NDTV was a totally different challenge altogether.
When you recognize contribution to society, these stories are inspiration for everyone who views them.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter. The Wall Street deals, finance and policy news.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter. The Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter. The Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with.
Hi, thanks so much for joining in. You're watching the Mutual Fund Show on NDTV Profit, and my name is Alex Matthews. Sometimes it helps to go back to the basics, and today, on today's program, we're going to deal with a few very basic concepts that will hold you very well over the test of time and will take you through the time going forward. I've lost my words, but essentially what I'm talking about is things that will help you over the course of the next 2 decades. I'm not talking about the next few months. So let's talk about what's lined up on the show. In the first place, you have the advantage of value averaging through systematic investment plans. This is a very simple concept, but it's actually something that we will illustrate through very key numbers, very clear numbers, and you'll be able to take something very positive from this. The second point that we're taking is why you should stick for the long term. What happens after 10 years of investing into a mutual fund scheme using the SIP route? There is something magical that takes place, and we'll take you through the numbers there as well. There's a lot of talk about new fund offers. Let's go to the next point that we'll be talking about. And a lot of them have been in the thematic and the sectoral space. So today we're going to ask what are the questions that you should ask before you invest in such a fund. New fund offers are the flavor of the season. There are several that have come out. A lot of people think that there is an advantage to investing in new fund offers. That is not the case, and we'll tell you why. And also, here's a trick. In case you are thinking of investing in a new fund offer in the equity category, we'll tell you why you should look at how the balanced advantage fund of that mutual fund house is constructed. So to talk about all of this and more, luckily my guest is not going to be as tongue-tied as I have been. Vijay Mantri is joining me right now, and he's known to be a very clear speaker. Vijay, thanks so much as always for taking the time. And let's start with the first point that I had spoken about, and that is value averaging. Why is it so advantageous to carry out an SIP over the long term?
So it is the very simple concept called rupee cost averaging. And in the business of investing, simplicity prevails over complexity. But many people think that simplicity lacks profoundness, and by following a simple investment strategy, we may be missing out of something very, very big. But through today's show, we are going to prove that a simple strategy can be really profound, can create lots of wealth for the investor. So let's look at what does a smart investor or very evolved investor attempt to do. He or she attempt to buy market at lower and lower level because they believe that they are much better at timing the market, and perhaps they can buy the market or any other asset at the valuation or at the value lower than a normal people can do. But can a normal investor, a normal person can do the same thing? Our answer is yes, emphatic yes, that it can be done. And we can explain in today's show through a simple concept called rupee cost averaging.
Take that advantage. Vijay, you've sent me one fund, and this is, of course, not recent data. It's actually just a little bit dated, but it's still relevant for the purposes of this illustration. We've looked at the HDFC FlexiCap fund, and we've looked at 5-year period, 10-year period, 15-year period, and we've gone all the way up to a 29-year period. And we've talked about how there is a divergence in the average NAV for the month and the average NAV of the SIP that you would do, or the systematic investment plan. Can you explain the numbers that are contained in this table?
So for instance, if you let's look at this fund was launched on 1st January 1995 at 10 rupees NAV. And today the fund's NAV is 1812 rupees. That is on 1st July 2024. And if you see the screen in front of you, 5 years back, that is 1st July 2019, the NAV of the fund was 700 rupees. If I take 1st July 2090 as the beginning and take NAV of every month, so from 1st July 2019 till July 2024, we got 60 months. So starting NAV is 700 rupees, and on 1st July 2024, NAV is 1812 rupees. So if I take 60 months average, the average of 60 months is 971 rupees. Similarly, if we took average for 10 years, the average NAV is 752 rupees. And if you look at average for 15 years, the average for 15 years is 590, average for 20 years is 473, average for 25 years is 384, and average for almost 30 years is 327 rupees. Now, if you look at your screen, which is right now in front of you, 5-year average NAV is 971 rupees. But if you, during those same 60 months, suppose you did SIP, then the average price for you, the average NAV falls from 971 to 864. So average arithmetic average for 60 months is 971. But in same 60 months, if somebody did SIP of 60 months, their average cost come down to 864. So the gap between average NAV and the SIP average cost is 11% for 5 years. Suppose you look at data for 10 years, the gap between arithmetic average and SIP cost come to 14%. And if you look at 15-year period, the gap between arithmetic average of 180 month, which is 590 rupees, and SIP cost come to 433 rupees. So you bought market at 27% discount. Suppose you did 15-year SIP in this fund. And if you look at data for 20 years, then 20 years average SIP cost is actually 473 rupees, but SIP cost come to 243 rupees. The difference between arithmetic average and SIP average cost is 49% for a 20-year period. And if you look at data for 25-year period, average arithmetic cost for 25 years means 30 month. The average cost is 384. But if you did SIP of 10,000 rupees or any fixed amount for those 300 months, then your average cost come down to 64 rupees. So the gap is 83%. And if you look at HDFC Flexi Cap Fund, is starting NAV 10 rupees. 1st July 2014, 24, the NAV is 1812 rupees. The average of these 354 months is 327 rupees. But if somebody did SIP in HDFC Flexi Cap of fixed amount for these 354 months, then the cost come down from 327 to 33 rupees. So if anybody who has done SIP in HDFC Flexi Cap since its inception of the fixed amount, then the average cost for the SIP for that investor is 33 rupees. And today the fund's NAV on 1st July 2024 is 1800 rupees. So this is the power of rupee cost averaging.
So just to drive home that point, Vijay, ultimately it is the systematic nature of this to say that if you are doing an investment of 10,000 rupees, a fixed amount every month, because you have the fluctuation in the NAV based on where the market is going, in some months you will acquire more units, in some months you will acquire less units. But because the NAV falls dramatically with the market, in some months you will accumulate a very large number and you will average your cost. Is that the correct interpretation?
Yeah, that's very true. And when we say in some month we acquire more unit and some month we'll acquire less unit, we'll acquire more units when the prices are low and we acquire less unit when the prices are high. So let me explain through two very simple illustration that will make more sense to investors. Suppose an investor would like to buy one share of a particular company every month. So if the company's share price is 200 rupees, they invest 200 rupees. If price is 500 rupees, they invest 500 rupees. Is 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees, whatever is the price, they invest that much amount. But instead of doing that, if the same investor said, instead of buying a fixed quantity, I will buy fixed amount. So they say, for instance, one company share, they would like to buy 2,000 rupees per month. So when the price is up 200 rupees, you invest 2,000 rupees. So you end up buying 10 shares as 200 rupees. But instead of that, suppose you bought only one share, then you only end up investing 200 rupees. Other illustration, which is much easier to understand for many investors, is take the illustration of gold. For instance, in last 20 years, on every Dhanteras, if somebody bought 10 gram of gold, so for 200 years, for 20 years, they end up buying 200 gram gold. And suppose the average cost come to, I did this number few years back, the average cost come to 19,000 rupees. So you invested 19,000 rupees per year, you invested 3,80,000 rupees and you got 200 gram gold and your average cost came to 19,000 rupees. But instead of buying a fixed quantity, if the investor has bought 19,000 rupees of gold every year, then instead of 200 gram, he or she end up owning 380 grams. Why this happened? Because when they bought fixed quantity, when the prices was 4,000 rupees, they only invested 4,000 rupees. But when you buy a fixed amount, say 19,000 in this case, when the prices was 4,000, you invested 19,000 rupees. So instead of 10 grams, you end up acquiring almost 50 grams. So your average cost come down. So in any asset category, which is little volatile, buying fixed amount will always bring your cost down rather than buying fixed quantity.
So that's a very powerful concept. The second concept that we should talk about is the power of compounding, which comes through, especially when you're using the SIP route. And the longer you hold it, the better it is. And this is also an illustration that you shared with me. It is something that starts with an investment or an SIP that you take through for the next 20 years. Now, take me through some of these figures here. You're talking about a 5,000 rupee SIP. So in the first year, you've invested about 60,000 rupees. The gain is 4,773 rupees. So in your illustration, in the first year, Vijay, you're talking about a gain of 7% with an internal rate of return, XIRR, of 15%. And for those people that are not familiar with XIRR, you're talking about the fact that in the first month, you're only putting 5,000 rupees. You may not get a 15% on the entire portfolio, right? So even if something is given you on a blended basis over the course of that investment, over that 12 months, it's given you 15% IRR. You've ended up with a gain of about 7% on the principal investment that you've made. But Vijay, over the course of several years after that, particularly after the 10th year, there's a very magical shift that happens, right?
So you're absolutely right. When we say X IRR, the meaning of, suppose you did 12-month SIP, then first tranche earn you 15% for 12 months, the second tranche for 11 months, third for 10th month, and the last for 1 month only. So we call it X IRR. And that's why, so suppose you did SIP for 1 year of 5,000 rupees per month, you invested 60,000 rupees. For a 3 year, you invested 1,80,000 rupees. For 5 years, you invested 3 lakh rupees. And for 7 years, you invested 4,20,000 rupees. Now at the 15% X IRR, after 1 year, your portfolio has gone up from 60,000 to 64,000. 60,000 is your cost. 64,773 is your portfolio value. In this portfolio value, 60,000 rupees is your principal amount and 4,773 is the gain amount. So gain as a percentage of your total portfolio after 1 year is just 7%. If you look at 3 years, at the end of 3 years, you invested 1,80,000. The portfolio value is more than 2,24,000 rupees. The gap is 44,000 rupees. That is gain. And now that gain is 20% of total portfolio value of 2,24,000. At the end of 5th year, you invested 3 lakh rupees. The value of the portfolio is 4,23,000. So gain is 1 lakh, portfolio value is 4,36,000. The gain is 1,36,000. Now this 1,36,000 is 31% of 4,36,000. And if you look at 7-year period, you invested 4,20,000. The value of the portfolio is 7,17,000 approximately. The gain is 2,96,000 rupees. And the gain now represents 41% of your total portfolio. That is the number you are seeing on your screen. But suppose you go for a 10th, 15th, 20th year, then what we see, the gain component. So here, just look at this slide. Now, if you look at this slide, at the end of 10 years, the gain is 54%, principal is 46%. At the end of 15th year, the gain is 71%, principal is 29 years. And if you look at end of 20th year, the gain is now 82% of the total portfolio value and principal is only 18%. But this gain amount remain only 7% for 1 year, 20% for 3 years, for 31% for 5 years, and 41% for a 7-year period. But beyond 7 years, the gain become bigger and bigger component of your total portfolio. So after 10 years, gain is more than 50%, 54% at the 10th year, 15th year has become 71%, 20th year is become 82%, and 25th year, it actually become 89%. So this slide, again, you see the yellow part is your principal and the red part or the pink part is your gain. In 1 year, 93:7 ratio. 3 year, 80% principal, 20% gain. Third year, 69% principal amount, 31% is the gain amount. 7th year, 59% is the principal amount, 41% is the gain amount. Moment you cross 15 year plus, the gain become higher and higher. Suppose you look at 10-year period, if you look at 20-year period, in 20-year period, gain become 82% of the portfolio. So this is the magic of SIP where the longer you go, you allow power of compounding to kick in. And because of power of compounding, money invested, interest create interest, the gain create gain for you, further gain for you. That's why the component of gain increases in the portfolio.
Your money starts working for you, which is a very powerful concept, and it is the core principle of compounding as well. Let's talk about another aspect, and this is the third topic that I wanted to take with you, Vijay, which has to do with the interest, the retail interest in thematic and sectoral funds. And there's quite a bit of that. It's now the largest category in the actively managed space. But let's talk about what you should ask before you invest in some of these, because ultimately what sometimes happens, or actually I should say more often than not happens, if you put money in certain sectoral schemes, what happens is that a large chunk of your money gets locked in just a few stocks. We're talking about 2 or 3 stocks that account for 20+%, 30% of the portfolio. So there is no advantage to that. Sometimes, of course, you can have outsized returns, but more often than not, there is a concentration risk and you can lose. So therefore, what questions should you ask before you invest in a sectoral or thematic fund?
So whenever a fund house or anybody who's position you a sectoral or thematic fund, first of all, there has to be gap difference between sectoral and thematic fund. But let's, for the argument's sake, keep it the same. The moment someone tells you that a fund house comes and tell you that we are very positive on a particular sector, for instance, we are very positive on defense sector or power sector or any particular sector. A simple thing to be asked from the fund house, if you are so convinced about, let's say, defense sector, then how much overweight your existing scheme carry in those particular themes or particular sector? That will tell you a full story. For instance, if somebody tells you that we are very bullish on power sector, we are very bullish on digital sector, then ask them in your existing mutual fund scheme, be it large cap, flexi cap, mid cap, small cap, or whatever you call it, how much is the weightage of that particular sector? For instance, if defense weightage is at 2%, then does your portfolio manager own 5%, 6%, 10% in the portfolio? Is he ever overweight, and how much overweight? If you don't get that answer, then it is very clear that is asset gathering exercise rather than a deep conviction idea which has been communicated to the investor.
The other aspect that I wanted to talk about with you is the new fund offers. And a lot of people, and this is, I guess, to a certain extent, the fault of the advertisers also, because you talk about that 10 rupee NAV, the net asset value, which is essentially the cost per unit. And a lot of people get drawn into it thinking that they are able to pick up something at a discount. And I've tried, Vijay, to compare this with an auto manufacturer, a car manufacturer. When you go to the showroom, the salesperson will always show you the newest car. You can, of course, buy something at an attractive entry price, but that is not the case for a mutual fund unit, where a mutual fund is a manufacturer of financial products, but ultimately what they're buying is a State Bank of India, is an ICICI Bank, and just because you have an NFO, you're not going to get that at a discount.
You are absolutely right, Alex, and it is just not the question of the car analogy. Actually, in mutual fund is much worse, because once you bought a car, you can't change the car. But as far as new car is concerned, they come with new features. But something, in mutual fund, existing scheme can have same kind of stock. So if you are looking at buying an NFO, don't buy just because it is available at 10 rupees. 10 rupees NAV just reflect the value of underlying portfolio. Suppose your fund, which is at 10 rupees NAV or 100 rupees NAV or 1000 rupees NAV. And suppose you invest in all 3 funds, and all 3 funds increases their value, say their NAV growth after 1 year is 20%. So 10 rupees NAV fund will become 12 rupees after 1 year. 100 rupees fund will become 120. 1000 rupees NAV fund will become 1200 rupees. So it is not that the 10 rupees fund will add 200 rupees to the value, not at all. If all 3 funds are run identical, then the growth in all 3 funds will come identical. So valuation growth, portfolio growth will happen similarly. So suppose you invested 1 lakh rupees in a 10 rupees NAV fund, 1 lakh rupees in 100 rupees NAV fund, 1 lakh rupees in 1000 NAV fund, and all these funds, for argument's sake, say they generate 20% return over the next 1 year. Then what happens? Your 1 lakh in all 3 categories, the NAV 10 to 12, 100 to 120, 1000 to 1200 rupees. But as far as your portfolio is concerned, your 1 lakh has become 1,20,000 in all three cases. So since it is available at 10 rupees NAV, have absolutely no meaning. Don't buy NFO just because it is available at 10 rupees NAV.
And very well put. Thanks so much for clarifying that. There's one more aspect, and I found it very interesting when we were talking about what we could speak about today, Vijay. You mentioned that before you invest in the NFO, if you are to invest in an NFO of in an equity mutual fund, you should look at the balanced advantage fund of that same fund house. Why is that?
So I found very interesting when you listen to a fund manager or the team and when you ask them what is the allocation in balanced advantage fund, because that is a fund in which the fund manager have a discretion to move equity up and down based on what they believe is the right valuation and where they're going to make more money or where there's a possibility of capital protection. If in the opinion of fund manager, the valuation is stretched, then they normally have a lower allocation of equity in balanced advantage fund and they see great opportunity in the market, they naturally increase allocation in balanced advantage fund. But I found sometimes very ironical or very funny is that a fund house have a lower and lower allocation in balanced advantage fund and continue to come out with NFOs. So there is something amiss in the whole process. Why you're raising money in NFO? Because you believe that you could invest investors' money and generate return. If that is the case, then why you haven't completely exhausted the upper equity limit which you set yourself? So your balanced advantage fund can go up to 80% in equity. Right now it is in 30% in equity. And then you're coming with the NFO. So I found little challenging. So again, it shows that perhaps it is more of a asset gathering exercise than anything else.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better, Vijay. Thanks so much for joining in, for giving us the perspective that you did. I think that this can be a primer to anybody that is looking to invest in the mutual fund space. All right, and that brings us to the end of this particular edition of the Mutual Fund Show. We weren't able to take any questions today, but we normally do. So don't forget to send us questions on the WhatsApp number that has been playing at the bottom of your screen. Do stay tuned. Lots more coming up on NDTV Profit.
Of jury of NDTV was a totally different challenge altogether.
When you recognize contribution to society, these stories.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360. When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow, the newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve with all you need to know on NDTV Profit.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you're trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the long street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators.
Thanks for that, Agam. Let's quickly look at where the Nifty is. Around 0.5% higher, so 24,311 is where we are at. The Nifty Bank, of course, one of the factors which has aided the Nifty 50, 1/3% higher on the Nifty Bank. Mind you, absolutely flat. In fact, a bit negative. We can pull up the chart, intraday chart for the Nifty Bank. What you're seeing is some bit of recovery which has come through, and we're now around 1/3% or thereabouts higher. So clearly positive cues coming through. Let's pull up the contributors, get more context on which are the top contributors on the Nifty. HDFC Bank up 1% or so, clearly going to drive the Nifty on a day like this, right? But then you have the Adani names really coming to the fore. Adani Ports, Adani Enterprises, both of them contributing significantly in terms of points contribution on the Nifty. You're also seeing NTPC doing quite a bit in that sense. Of course, Adani Ports, Adani Enterprises, significant in the sense that you've got them, given their weightage, the kind of numbers they're adding on the Nifty is definitely significant. 10% higher on Adani Enterprises, 7% on ports. So some bit of positivity there. And then you've got NTPC Green listing, definitely aiding that particular counter as well. Let's pull up sectoral heat map as well, try and zoom in see which sectors are doing well. The Nifty Auto has been on the front foot since the morning, 0.2% higher on that one. The Nifty FMCG has reversed, 0.3% higher on the Nifty IT as well. The Nifty Metals doing fairly well. The only one possibly sulking is the Nifty Pharma. The Nifty Realty seeing some bit of consolidation, cool off after really hitting it out of the park over the last 3 to 4 trading sessions. 0.5% lower on the Nifty Realty. But that's how essentially it's playing out on markets. Agam?
Yes. Harsh, you mentioned that we are looking at gains coming through, and on in general, even in terms of broader markets. Let's pull up the mid cap and the small cap indices and see how things are faring there, because we are looking at a 0.5% up move there, and mostly moving in tandem with the benchmarks. The small cap index has continued to show strength vis-a-vis the Nifty 50 and the Bank Nifty. And there are plenty of counters out there which are actually doing well. Can we take a look at the advanced decline ratio while we also pull up how things are faring when it comes to the broader markets? Okay, so here you have it. This is what you have in terms of your advanced decline ratio. We're looking at 3 gainers for maybe a little over one loser. So the market breadth continues to be strong at the moment. And again, pros in general that we're looking at right now, Harsh.
Right. Interesting, because we have a management placed today. We have Shikhar Agarwal, chairman of BLS E-Services, to come talk to us about their latest acquisition. It's, of course, a sports management company that you've acquired, Mr. Agarwal. Talk us through, one, the rationale and what this adds to your bouquet.
Hi. In fact, actually, I think yesterday the acquisition that we have announced is a loan distribution company. So the company that we have acquired is called RD Phyllis Loan Solutions. This company we acquired at an enterprise value of 190 crores, and we took a 57% ownership of this company, wherein we paid 78 crores. 25 crore was primary infusion into the company. Other money will be paid. The entire valuation of 123 crore will be paid depending on certain targets this financial year and next financial year. So this company has a very interesting model. They are into loan distribution. They process around 1,500 crores of loans every month. They have a network of more than 8,000 partners across India, wherein they source loans on behalf of banks and FIs and distribute those. And this company had a revenue of around 600 crores last year and an EBITDA of 20 crores. This year, definitely it is poised to grow. BLS E-Services already has a network of 1 lakh plus touch points across India. So we want to utilize our footfall of 7 lakh people to cross and upsell these loan products. So we definitely feel there will be a major upside for us, by this acquisition.
Point taken. You've acquired 57% of this company, Mr. Agarwal. So a couple of questions here. First off, apologies on getting the sector wrong, but let me first off ask you on top line. So at 600 crore, where does the top line go from here? And at around 20 to 25 crore kind of EBITDA, if I heard that right, where does the margin number go as you grow over the next 2 to 3 years and scale this business?
See, this business, if you see last 3 years, 2-3 years before, they were doing 250 crores of revenue. Last year they did, last year they did 530 crores, and last year they closed at 630 crores of revenue. This year we expect certain growth. EBITDA conventionally, if you see EBITDA margins, BLS E-Services, we do 15% EBITDA margin. This company, since it's a volume business, loan aggregation business, the margins are lesser. They did 20 crore EBITDA, but with our network, of 1 lakh touch points, they're currently only in 8,600 touch points across India, where this has become one of the largest loan distribution companies in India. We are thinking that we can really help grow this company. BLS E-Services last year did 30 crores of EBITDA, and then we did 45 crores. This last quarter itself, we did 14 crores. So we've seen major growth coming in. Now, when these numbers get combined, we'll get full quarter of, next full quarter, we'll get in the consolidation. And also next year, we see good growth coming in. So we feel that we can grow both BLS E-Services and RD Phyllis Loan Solutions through our network.
It's actually very interesting here, but if you could also give us an idea about BLS E-Services specifically going forward, the kind of traction that you're seeing in the second half of this financial year, what you're expecting, and how do the subsequent quarters look like as well?
See, See, if you see a growth in consolidated level, BLS International, we have grown 70% in terms of EBITDA in the last quarter. BLS e-services has also grown, in terms of EBITDA by more than 20-30%. Now we are now increasing our presence across India. We have tied up with multiple newer banks. Bank of SBI was our major anchor bank. Then we started working with many other banks. Our reach has increased. So we feel the revenue and profitability from those services have started to come. Even private sector banks like HDFC, Axis banks have started to work with us. So we feel BLS e-services can sustain the growth momentum. And on top of that, this acquisition will definitely add fuel to the numbers.
Right, Shikhar. So where should the growth take your top line? I'm talking maybe the current entity itself. The acquired 57% will obviously add to your top line. So just trying to understand, get context.
So I think definitely minimum growth that we are targeting is upwards of 20% in terms of top line and EBITDA growth that we do year on year, in BLSE services. But BLS International, we've achieved much more. So I think this company is also a new company. We started 5 years back. This got listed this year itself in January. So right now we're in the consolidation phase. So I feel that we can easily achieve 15-20% growth in terms of revenue and margins. And on top of that, the numbers that come in from this company will be further, to the numbers that we achieve.
Point taken. You suggested that margins are getting better, and you just told us that 20% growth on margins. So, want to try and understand, are margins expected to get better as you scale on a 20% growth base, or have margins now flattened? Will they flatten at the mid-teen kind of level? Is that how one can expect it to be?
See, on a consolidated level, our margins have become 33% now, EBITDA margins, if you consolidate services and international e-services, since it's a India-centric business, wherein you get paid in INR currency and it's a low ticket value. It's based on volumes. So definitely margins have been lower. We've been generating 15% margins. Now this company that we've acquired is a bigger volume base. Margins are slightly lower in this, but I think on the long term, we want to maintain the margins that we've achieved. As in BLS International, it took us a couple of years to grow the margin to upwards of 30% level. We feel even in BLS e-services, right now 15%, we want to consolidate, in the short term, and then in the long term, definitely grow the margins.
So how much will that grow by? Sorry, Mr. Agarwal, if I'm getting this wrong.
See, BLS International, we have grown to 30%
Yes.
margin, where we are paid in dollars, pounds, etc.
Right.
This business, conventionally last 5 years, we were at 12%, 13%. We have reached at 15% EBITDA margins now. So definitely, and the company that we have acquired is at a little lower margin than what 15% we have. So I feel in the short term, probably margins can take a hit, but the profitability and revenue will grow. But in the long term, we want to maintain the 15% EBITDA margins.
Got it. And where does the 20% growth come from? Does it come more from government? Where are you trying to focus in with regard to your revenue growth? What segment?
See, BLS e-services divided into multiple segments. Banking correspondent is where we work with banks, and governments is where we work with a lot of state governments for outsourcing work. So I feel that we are looking at growth in both the segments, wherein we are now increased our reach with different banks. More services have been added. We have given bigger reach. Banks now have consolidated. SBI has also given a kind of a verbal instruction that they want to work only with a handful of companies. They want to consolidate the market. I think that will play to our advantage. Even from an e-governance side, we've started working in the state of Gujarat, West Bengal, on top of UP, etc. So I feel growth will come from all the factors combined.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal. Real pleasure speaking to you as always, and wishing you all the very best for H2.
Thank you so much.
Right. So that's BLS e-services, of course. They've made an acquisition, and the kind of business where they're going to leverage on the current branch network to kind of sell financial services as well. So broadly loans. But a percent higher on that one, no real impact. Let me bring on board Sudeep Bandyopadhyay. Now, Chairman IndiTrade Capital, as well as Brijesh Ail, who's retail research at IDBI Cap. Brijesh, let me come to you first. Try and give us a view on what's happening, because we've seen a very good rally where the market is concerned. We've had a great day of trade. It was soft at the start, but we've really picked and got good traction as we're building towards close.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. So basically, if you are looking at the view from the directional point of view, I believe we are going to see some further positive momentum. So as you said, like at the start of the day, 24,200 was a trigger where a lot of call writers were active. So as and when 24,200 got moved higher, that immediate 100 points of recovery was seen in the Nifty cash. So my understanding is that tomorrow being the monthly expiry, we might see some laggards at this point. But then directionally, I am sensing that 24,700, which is the 50, almost the 50 SMA level, should be the next leg of upside for the Nifty. On the downside, 24,000 is the support level. Same if you're looking for the Bank Nifty today we are having the monthly expiry and 52,300 is one where again the put writers are active. So those level is likely to be respected. And sooner or later, Bank Nifty should rally towards the 53,000. As and when we see a very strong close above 53,000, then that is going to act a very strong range breakout. So 53 was the multiple resistance zone over the last couple of trading sessions. Once 53 is taken out, which I do believe sooner or later it will be taken out because most of the heavyweight stocks like HDFC Bank, Axis, ICICI are looking very strong on charts, and I believe this would lead the further positive momentum in the Bank Nifty as well. So bias is strictly positive. Even today, by any chance, if Nifty there is some 30-40 points of odd correction is there, one can take that long bet and for tomorrow's series itself, and we can play the positive bets.
Okay, Sudeep, good afternoon to you as well. We're looking at a resurgence of sorts in the information technology sector. How are you looking at trends here and what's the way forward?
In fact, I've been maintaining for quite some time that technology is one sector which will see a lot of upside. I think probably we have seen the worst of it. US economy is strong and it's expected to remain strong. And remember, most of the IT companies, at least the leading IT companies in India, derive a large part of their income from US. When US slows down, they have a problem. And when US is strong, they generally gain market and their income goes up, margins go up. So that's the scenario I'm looking at it for the future. There will be some disruptions because of Mr. Trump coming as president regarding the visas and other things. But I think Indian IT companies have managed that and navigated that earlier, and they will pretty much navigate this time as well. But the business upside momentum will help them in a big way. Now, amongst IT companies, I would say one should focus on companies which have a strong base in US and a strong probability of gaining market share. Some of the segments which will benefit more is definitely financial services. That's one segment which will benefit more than proportionately. So companies having significant presence in US financial services should benefit. So one can look at Emphasis, one can look at, of course, the traditional large Indian IT biggies like TCS, Infosys, even Wipro. So I think all these companies from a medium to long-term point of view can be looked at from an investor's point of view.
Okay. Brijesh, come in on stock picks that you have at the moment.
So it's basically the from the F&O space, I think the PVR Inox is giving a very strong breakout. So I think PVR can be bought at the current price. The stop loss for the PVR would be 1478, and I'm looking for 1550 as the immediate, maybe a 1 or 2 day kind of a trade setup. But then 1550 would be the price target for the PVR Inox. Second one is the AB Capital, which is extremely positive. So at the level of 200, the positions, the longs have been added. So I think one should go long in AB Capital. The stop loss would be 191. From the trading perspective, 200 would be the immediate target.
All right, let's move on and talk about a handful of other aspects here. I want to actually bring up Adani Enterprises. This is, of course, the Nifty 50 top gainer, but I actually want to point out that it's just a moments ago, it hit the mark of 2,400 rupees a share. And the reason why this is important is because tomorrow is the expiry. Tomorrow is the monthly expiry. And there were a significant amount of calls written around the 23,000 mark. Now, not only have those calls been forced to unwind, but we are now starting to see traction around the 24,000 mark, which only further exacerbates the up move currently. In fact, I would perhaps classify this as a short squeeze, because that's exactly what's going on. While you have longs building into Adani Enterprises right now, you are also seeing a lot of your older shorts being squeezed out of the system, being forced out completely. And that's also one of the key reasons behind that very sharp up move that we've seen on an intraday basis of nearly 11%. And it's not every day that you see a Nifty 50 company advance by around 11%. Of course, Adani Enterprises in general has been volatile, but look at the kind of change that you're seeing in the market cap today. In fact, it's gained about 26,000 crores only today itself. So, and we're looking at a substantial recovery in Adani Ports too. So let's pull that up as well. Not to the tune of the up move that we've seen in, Enterprises, but Adani Ports as well is up around 6% at the moment, also gaining about 15,500 crores in market capitalization. So these are just some of the names that you can keep an eye on. But Sudeep, if I can actually get your opinion in on the Adani Group as well, how are you looking at things here?
Well, at every dip, Adani Ports, Gujarat Ambuja and ACC is worth buying. And I have been maintaining this view when the Hindenburg controversy hit Adani Group, and I maintain my same view even now. As far as the other group companies are concerned, as far as from an investment point of view, they're too volatile at this stage. So I will advise investors to wait and watch. There's no point getting into this. This is a trader's market as far as the other scripts are concerned. And I'm sure traders are, as you were explaining, they are making merry by either taking a position for or against, and all kind of things are happening. But as far as port is concerned, I'm very bullish. And I believe that long-term investors should have it in their portfolio. Same goes for Gujarat Ambuja and ACC.
Okay. Well, let's move on and talk about the next stock which is in focus, and that is Aster DM. In fact, this one has also jumped by nearly 7% right now. As you can see, about 7.5% gains that we are seeing right now. And even as it moves higher, it's set to acquire additional equity shares in Prerna Hospital. And Varsha now joins us with more details. Varsha, over to you.
Thanks, Agam. So yes, company is going to acquire additional stake. So they're going to increase their stake to 100% from 87% currently, and the transaction will be executed in 2 tranches. Now, a lot of hospital companies are actually going into brownfield capex rather than greenfield capex, because that saves when it saves on the capex, and the growth is actually higher. This is one of the reasons that Aster is also doing. So basically, they are expanding through brownfield capex. Now, if I were to talk about Prerna Hospital, so they offer 254 beds and is present in over 25 specialities. The turnover for Prerna Hospitals in FY24 was around 120 crore. Now, if I were to talk about what is way ahead for Aster DM as a whole, so their Aster Women and Children Hospital in Hyderabad is expected to complete by FY26, and the total capacity to reach 6,800 beds by FY27, and they're expecting a growth of 18 to 20% when it comes to India business, with EBITDA margin of 24 to 25% in next 4 years, from FY25 to FY29. And this growth will actually be driven by higher occupancy and capacity expansion that the Aster is aiming at. And also lastly, the average revenue per occupied bed, which is the main thing when it comes to hospital, the growth projected over there is 7 to 8% over the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay, Brijesh, let me come to you on this one. Something like an Aster, 7.5% move today. Would you at all, would it be part of your list? And if so, on what side of the trade would you sit?
Yeah, actually we had, not today, but on the 24th of October, when there was a good volume record, we had this on the list, and we were speaking about 530 levels on the higher side. So eventually the stock has today, it has started to move. And with this 472 level, I believe another 50 odd points of move is there. It's again a kind of opportunity, and somebody wants to take the long bet. One has to wait for some kind of a decline. 450 would be the level where again the re-entry can be made, because somewhere this 530, 550 would be the technical target is what I look at it.
Sudeep, anything within this healthcare or in the larger pharma, come even your the lab testing basket, would any of the stocks feature for you there at this point?
Well, definitely, it's a very interesting space, and there are a lot of things happening. Look at the number of deals which is happening in this space, which was unheard of a few years back. I think every week you have new deals happening. So this place is definitely hot. Somehow I feel that the lab testing space is a bit too competitive, and margins are and will continue to be under pressure. So I will avoid that. As far as hospitals are concerned, I'm definitely positive, and the the leader of the pack, Apollo, continues to my best pick. I would still recommend a long-term investment in Apollo. All the verticals have started doing good. Even the online medicine delivery business has started doing good. So overall, I think Apollo is definitely a good buy. One can look at Max Healthcare as well. I think that is also looking good at current level. Vedanta, to my mind, with the expansion in eastern part of India, does look good. So any of these, from a long-term investor's point of view, can be looked at and bought.
Right. Well, okay. So that's the view on the healthcare space. Let's talk about HDFC Bank. Of course, because of the fact that it usually is the top contributor to the Nifty 50, it's up around 1%. So even that 1% today would mean quite a bit, considering its huge market cap. But HDFC Bank is also at a lifetime high. At least we were talking about this yesterday on an intraday basis. It did hit a life high yesterday. I reckon that it has, in fact, today too, about 1,800 rupees per share. And let's actually take a technical view here. Brijesh, what's your view on HDFC Bank? I know that this is a relatively slower moving counter, also a lot of hands involved. Still, technically, how are things looking here?
See, technically, definitely it is moving higher, and it's about to give a fresh leg of rally. So more than technically, what I've been observing for the last two trading sessions, this 1,800 level, there are a lot of call writers who were exited the short position. And if you look at the December series and on an immediate basis, 1850 and 1900, suddenly there is a fresh longs has been added on the call side. So I'm pretty confident that this, when I said in the early that the Bank Nifty is about to give a breakout above 53,000 level, so HDFC would definitely contribute to those rally. And I believe HDFC is poised for 1850, purely from the derivatives point of view, because at 1850, good amount of longs are added, and I think that should be the move which we should be expecting.
Okay. Yeah, with that, we shift our focus to Talrose Auto, and the stock has surged over 11% after securing a multi-year order worth 470 crores. And Puneet now joins us to give us more details. Puneet.
Well, thanks for that. It's a very interesting company, auto component company. Now, as you rightly said, the key trigger today is a very big order win that they've got 475 crores. Roughly 245 crores is coming from its traditional business of, heat shield segment. And that's, of course, coming from multiple OEM and car companies. They've also received an export order of 145 crores, while they've also had a 75 crores order coming in specifically from the EV segment. Now, why is this 475 crore order win, very important is because this is roughly 60% of the total revenue of about FY24, which was about 780 odd crores. And this is in addition to the 1,000 crores of orders they got back in April of 2024. So it's definitely, next revenue potential for the next couple of years very strong. In Q2 specifically, the company recorded a 12% revenue growth of about 220 odd crores. Margins was also very strong at 130 basis point up, coming at almost 17% in this particular quarter, while net profit was up 17% at 23 odd crores. Now, there is, very lean brokerage coverage on the stock, but Anand Rathi has a target price of 450 rupees per share, which is still, an upside of 33% even from the current levels as well. And what's important is, as I mentioned, that for FY24, they did about 778 crores of revenue. By FY27, they're anticipating this to jump almost 3 times to roughly about 2,200 odd crores. So keep the stock on your radar, multiple order wins going forward as well, and a stronger export picture and an EV picture is something that the company has mentioned in its, investor presentation and, messages to analysts as well. So definitely a stock to keep on your radar in the auto component space.
All right, but let's also talk about Honda, which has announced the launch of electric version of its best-selling scooter, the Activa. On the sidelines of the event, my colleague Harpriya caught up with the CEO and Managing Director of Honda Motorcycle India, where he spoke about their aim to capture 29% of market share in the long term. Listen in.
Today is a challenging day for Honda. So because other Indian OEM already many launches electric vehicle. So Honda now just a little bit delay, but anyway we will try to start a business in electric vehicle.
Sir, the competitive landscape in India for the EV vehicles has been heating up now. There are multiple players, even the legacy players have entered. What kind of market share are you trying to acquire? What does your plan say for the next 1 to 2 years look like? What's the kind of market presence you're looking at?
Next year target is unclear, but current-wise, Honda ICE share is around 29%. So means similar. Our target is try to achieve similar target. This is our challenging target, but not talking about not next years. Finally, is similar, same share.
All right, Sudeep, I also want your view on the auto sector. And from what I can make out is that we're getting cues which are very, very mixed. You have some of these names which, while they have given you great volumes numbers over the past few months, they're for some reason indicating not a very exciting outlook. On the other hand, you have the other end, which is actually also looking to put out more and more launches. So how are you placed here, and what do you like, and where do you think there could be more traction going forward? Will it be the two-wheeler space, the four-wheeler space? Will it be commercial vehicles, passenger vehicles? What is your assessment of the auto sector right now?
Well, I think if I look at the entire space, I like auto ancillaries, very honestly. And I'll explain that in a minute. But beyond that, if I look at pure auto, I think I don't like at this stage the passenger vehicle companies. There are challenges in demand, and that is getting reflected in both their numbers as well as the commentary. The second is there is a destabilization happening through launch of EVs. So, who will stand where post the EV market matures is very difficult to predict. Now, one segment which is doing very well is the SUVs, and we expect tractors also to pick up and start doing well. So M&M definitely looks good. The valuation is not cheap, but from a long-term point of view, M&M even now does look good on the back of new SUV launches as well as the pickup in tractor sales. As far as commercial vehicles are concerned, again, I would not like to venture there. As far as overall scenario is concerned, we like ancillaries, predominantly on the back of the fact that whether ICE engine wins or EV wins or it's a mix, it doesn't matter. Ancillaries play a major role. And some of the auto and companies of India are now global in nature. They supply to global OEMs and have a fantastic product basket. So which I think per vehicle, their component or their contribution is continuously increasing. So we should focus on this auto ancillary space for structural long-term gain as far as auto sector is concerned from an investor's point of view.
Okay, all right. Brijesh, you want to come in on something like Maruti Suzuki? How are you looking at this one? Because that's clearly the leader in the PV space right now. What are the technicals telling you?
So eventually the charts are looking positive, and even if we look from the data point of view, this data is also suggesting a long build-up. So I believe this closer to 11,200 is what would be the immediate trade for the Maruti, and the structure is extremely positive. I think that upmove should follow in this, and I think again the auto numbers will be seen by the end of this month. So being the Diwali season which we left over, so numbers should be slightly positive. And there would be some trading bounce in all the auto space is what we are looking into. So another 200 points of move can be seen in the Maruti.
Okay, well, Brijesh, on that note, thanking you for joining us and taking us through your views on the markets. With that, we also slip into a short break, but on the other side, plenty more lined up in the final hour of trade. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.
of jury of NDTV was a totally different challenge altogether.
When you recognize contribution to society, these stories.
When the whole day passes like a blur, the news just whizzes past, and you are trying to stay informed. It is our job to bring you news that truly matters. At Profit 360, we cut through the clutter, the Wall Street deals, finance and policy news that could shape your tomorrow. The newsmakers, the trendsetters, and the innovators. In 30 minutes, we've got you covered. So stay ahead, stay informed, and stay profitable with Profit 360.
Headlines you start your day with. What matters worldwide is now in the palm of your hands. Get ready to seize the day and maximize your financial potential. Stay ahead of the curve.